नमो भगवते तस्मै कृष्णाय अद्भुतकर्मणे रूपनाम विभेदेन जगत क्रीडति यो यतः. Living a life of grace is the essence to a blissful life, and Pushtimarg shows this path of grace. In our first exploration of this topic, living the life of grace, we discussed the science and logic of grace and concluded that the key to living in grace is to live in a state of gratefulness at all times. In addition, we heard of the science that shows we have the DNA to indeed live in this state of grace and gratitude. Now, we will talk of the means or the process of living in grace that Srimad Vallabhacharya ji propounded and revealed through his teachings called Pushtimarg, the path of grace. As we had discussed, our ancient rishis from the beginning of our Sanatan Vedic tradition showed us ways to live in grace, and our own Srimad Vallabh took the teachings from our core texts, which were Vedaha Shri Krishna Vakyani Vyasa Sutrani Chaivahi Samadhi Bhasha Vyasasya Pramanam Tatyatushayam. The core texts, which are Vedas, Brahma Sutras, Bhagavad Gita, and Srimad Bhagavatam, to unfold in practical way the process of living in grace that is relevant even today, whether you are a student, householder, or in any vocation, a retire, or in a contemplative phase of your life. So let us begin. Again, as we recall from the first session that the gateway to grace is living in a state of gratitude. To whom? The one who is the source of our existence or our being, God, whom we call Lord Shri Krishna. So as we begin this journey, let us take note that Srimad Vallabhacharya ji begins his own teachings on how to live in grace by paying gratitude and homage to Lord Sri Hari, who is Shri Krishna. Shri Vallabh says in his famous treatise, the Siddhant Muktavali, that bowing my head to Sri Hari, I will surely reveal with firm conviction that always perform Shri Krishna's pleasing service or seva, and the highest form of seva is when it spontaneously fills the mind and heart. Natva harim pravakshami swasiddhanta vinishchayam Krishna seva sadakarya manasi sa paramata. So how does this spontaneous condition arises? Shri Vallabh says that this state arises when one's consciousness is threaded into Shri Krishna, and using our bodies and our wealth in Shri Krishna's beloved service can help attain this state. Chaitas tat pramanam seva tat siddhyai tanuvittaja tatah sansara dukkhasya nivrittir brahma bodhanam. So the question arises, how do we thread our consciousness in Shri Krishna that really comes from a desire to become a vessel of Lord's grace? When one is receptive to experiencing God's grace, that soul also can sense the needs of the Lord. Using our bodies and our wealth to serve His needs can enable us to become more connected to the Lord and understand Him and His Leela. Today, a truly practicing Vallabhkul Acharya, descendants of Shri Vallabh, especially one who follows the teachings and cares of Lord Shri Krishna, will exemplify how the body and wealth can be used in service of Shri Krishna, and they also showcase that the structure of bhakti, devotion to Shri Krishna is not broken. In order to guide individuals into Shri Krishna's consciousness, which means having the perspective that everything is God and nothing but God. Srimad Vallabhacharya Ji gave the famous mantra of the constant refrain to remind oneself that Shri Krishna is my refuge. Shri Krishna Sharanam Mama. This mantra helps us to transcend our consciousness to our own higher self-awareness. This mantra is often called the Nama Mantra or Ashtakshar Mantra, the 8-syllable mantra. This mantra is given by a guru who you select as one that practices the teachings of Sri Vallabh and who is from Vallabhacharya Ji's lineage. The Ashtakshar Mantra should be chanted every day by Vaishnavas, which helps us to remember God and this experience the Lord by seeing His omnipresence throughout all our activities and interaction in this world. Ideally, when a person really feels a yearning or desire to be closer to God and seek a stronger relationship with Shri Krishna, they seek the help of a guru to help establish that bond with the Brahma Sambandh mantra or Gadhya mantra. This mantra is again given only by Vallabh Kul Balak. The meaning of the Brahma Sambandh mantra is, it has been ages, I, the individual soul, have been separated from you, Shri Krishna. Brahma, the Supreme Lord. I do not experience the pangs of separation, but I want to join you. So I surrender to you, Samarpan, my body, senses, soul, intellect, and their activities, my family and my belongings. This surrender to the Lord throughout initiation into the path of grace by the Guru is the essence of the Brahma Sambandh mantra. At this time, the Guru reminds us about our duty to the Lord and reunites us with the Lord. It is said that from this stage onwards, our duty should constantly be engaged in Lord Shri Krishna's seva. In addition to this powerful mantras, other traditions have also arisen that seamlessly enable us to experience the grace of the Lord upon us by incorporating our communication needs, our food needs, and our body protective needs, which are necessities to our existence and also are utilized for the caring, pleasing love of our beloved Lord Shri Krishna. This offering is called Rag, Bhog, and Shringar, and it is expressed most lovingly and spontaneously to our beloved Lord through our beautiful words or music, offering the most delectable foods as well as most ornamental coverings merely to please the Lord. It is just like a parent who may be lovingly looking after a child. It is not about striking a deal with the baby, but it is their love towards the baby. The Rag, Bhog, and Vastra or Shringar offerings vary daily according to the season, the date, and time of the day. And this is the main reason why this path is so colorful and alive. Each day has its own vibrancy and sportive play with the Lord. Take for example the festival of colors, which we call Holi. In Pushtimarg, it is a 40-day festival that begins the day of spring. Vasant Panchami in Haveli, the mansion in which Lord resides. Seva is most vibrantly and richly performed, and during each of these 40 days, there is a new blank white pichwai hanging backdrop, each day placed behind the icon of Shri Krishna, and daily new means, patterns, and styles are sprinkled and designed in order for the devotee to surprise the Lord in daily playful Leela. In the same way, life daily begins with a new blank slate with the Lord's grace, and we should make it a point to make it beautiful and blissful, no matter what surprises come our way while involved with the Lord in His sportive play, Leela. And we should be dynamically involved as His own friend, beloved, caretaker, servant, or whatever other relationship we have intimately established. Holi festival is one example of how beautifully Pushtimarg celebrates, intimately brings the devotee this created world in which the Lord resides, as well as the manifest being of the Lord as Shri Krishna altogether. Again, Vasant Panchami marks the beginning of this season of Khel festivities, which we call Holi. Fresh flowers, young shoots or trees and shrubs are brought into the Haveli to celebrate the renewal of nature. Originally, this was also celebrated as Madan Panchami, dedicated to the god of love. Hence, songs of love between the Lord and his devotee gopis also feature heavily during this season. As of this day, the Vallabh Balak sprinkles a little color on the devotees who have come to the Haveli for darshan. For the first few days, this is a gentle exercise, and devotees generally get only a sprinkle or two of colors on their clothes. Soon, however, the tempo builds up. As weeks progress, more and more color is used to entertain the Lord. More and more colors finds its way on the people's clothes, and soon enough, a trip to the Haveli during Holi means having to come home, bathe, and change your clothes. One truly experiences the thrill of sportive play with Shri Krishna at this time, who has become so personal as to play with his own devotee. The divine Leela that the Lord performs is always increasing in bliss. Seva, or loving selfless divine service of Shri Krishna, is the most important way to experience the Lord's grace or Pushti in Pushtimarg, and has been prescribed by Sri Vallabhacharya Ji as the fundamental tenet. All principles and tenets of Shuddhadvaita Vaishnavism stem out from here. Over time, beautiful traditions have arisen that connect our daily activities that vary according to the time and season, and hence a variety of blissful moods and experiences are encountered, seeing the Lord present in this creation in which He resides. You can have a blissful experience in this life by filling each moment and His divine presence here in this lifetime. That's the key teaching of Pushtimarg, that the world is real and not looked down upon, but is treated as Shri Krishna's creation, and thus a real as Shri Krishna himself. In addition, all worldly desires are diverted towards Shri Krishna. They are then not required to be suppressed. When we fully utilize our body and wealth in the service of the Lord without suppressing our loving expression towards Him, as we see in Havelis, we can realize that throughout our main events of the day, the Lord is constantly with us in divine sportive play, Leela. Our lives become intimately connected with His needs and walking to sleeping. And at all the 8 momentous occasions of the day, Mangala, Shringar, Gwal, Rajbhog, Utthapan, Bhog, Aarti, and Shayan, as not everyone can do this type of seva, especially those who are not Goswami Balaks. The darshan of the Haveli Ashtayam Seva can help serve as a goal to think of Lord Shri Krishna mentally throughout the day, or to aspire at some time to possibly consider to perform such seva joyfully and without any stress at one's own home. Shri Krishna's seva is a joyous and beautiful affair, and our contemporary lives also mirror the activities that the Lord performed in Vraj. For example, not only is the Lord awakened, but he takes a bath, has breakfast, snacks, lunch, performs his vocational responsibilities bestowed on him as a cowherder, arrives home from work after a busy day, has dinner, and falls asleep. And in between all this, he makes a point to make a positive impact in the world. This vow towards the Lord has this resulted in a multitude of arts and talents are utilized in his seva. Everything is dedicated to him, becomes sanctified after he enjoys it. The blessed Lord made this, so certainly it would be fit for his pleasure. So one important area distinction of Pushtimarg is that it does not require a devotee to give up a householder's life. In fact, one can serve him better by being a householder. This is different from other philosophies that requires a life of contemplation as a monk. In fact, in the treatise called Bhaktivardhani, Srimad Vallabhacharya says, Bijadadhya prakarastu grahe sthitva swadharmatah avyavrato bhajet krishnam pujaya shravanadibhe. To strengthen the seed of devotion, one should worship Shri Krishna at one's home without any material attachments and with diligent observance of one's own dharma responsibilities by way of loving worship of Shri Krishna and serving him with beautiful words and listening and understanding other exalted activities. Pushtimarg is based on the critical human emotions, bhavas. Rituals of the sect use rag, bhog and shringar as means of expressing one's bhav, which are expressed possibly as a tender parent similar to Mother Yashodaji, or as a friend Sakha, or as a beloved like gopis. Bhavs spring from the sattvic, rajasic and tamasic state of our mind. Each expression of our mind is colored current state of mind, whether it is pure, material or coarse. Hence, bhavs are outward expressions of our inner state. Bhakti Marg channels these bhavas towards the higher goal, God. If we had real devotional mood in seva, it would fortify our thoughts as well as embrace and uplift our emotions. Therefore, the highest form of devotion is love-filled devotion, which we call as Prem Lakshana Bhakti. The full ninefold devotion revealed by Prahlad is also contained within the loving service or seva of the Lord. This climaxes in the exalted state of complete soulful offering called Atmanivedanam, which is also the beginning of seva. This occurred as we moved beyond a prescribed way of relating to God, only because it moved beyond our physical, mental or intellectual understanding but became part of our innate soulful conscious. You cannot force a change, but you can create transformation when it becomes part of your being. When that happens, it becomes spontaneous and not dependent to any means, and it arises naturally because it comes from the depth of the soul, which feels that constant connection to Lord Shri Krishna. This blessed state of non-attachment to means is called Nissadhanata. To achieve the state of Nissadhanata, one has to realize that it's only God's grace that allows us to get any positive result in our spiritual practice. However, in order to reach this condition, in the beginning, we do need spiritual direction from sacred sources. Otherwise, we would become self-centered and egoistical. Thus, we need Granth, spiritual knowledge, and Guru to help us understand our beloved Lord. The devotee who has motiveless love for God is able to truly understand the importance of the scriptures. Therefore, we should make an effort to read texts such as the Bhagavad Gita, 84 and 252 Vaishnava stories, Shodash Granths, etc. The purpose of scriptural studies is to become a more purified and better sevak in Lord's service, as well as to better understand the Lord. There is no false renunciation in Pushtimarg, but if the instant is to serve and please the Lord, better than understand that true renunciation comes from heart and mind. Prideful renunciation is not fruitful. The best way to bring a beautiful change that is natural is to mindfully feel the presence of God at all times. If we begin our thoughts and actions with the divine, then whatever comes into our lives can be directed and offered towards this transformation. That is why the practice of conscious application of tilak in the morning on our forehead promotes our mind to focus our thoughts and emotions for the service of the Lord Shri Krishna. In the same way, when we wake up and hold the kanthi around our neck and touch it to our eyes, serves as a reminder of our bond with Shri Krishna. With time, such conscious daily practices become ingredient and helps create inner transformation. This enables positive virtues only to be gathered and enable dharmic living, because in all our thoughts and deeds, the Lord is constantly in our mind. Realize that without dharma, there is lack of harmony in our thoughts and actions. The whole aspect of living in grace in Pushtimarg is to constantly remember the Lord in all that we do and to lovingly express our love through selfless divine service. Then, when the Lord relies upon the soul, it is considered an approach of grace that is real, blissful part of Pushtimarg, the path of grace. So through loving selfless service or seva of the Lord Shri Krishna, let us realize Shri Krishna's true nature, the one who is the Jeev, Jagadish and Jagat, and who is the cause of our being.